I'll kick us off because I've got to get this out there. Within the past couple of weeks of, since we last recorded, I went to the movie theaters again, and I still haven't seen Dune Part 2, which is unfortunately not in theaters anymore, so now I'm going to have to wait. I missed the bridge on that one. Um,
Damn.
but, but, uh, I saw another horror movie called Late Night with the Devil, and it was going to be between this one and Immaculate, both of which I've heard great things about, but I've heard better things about Late Night with the Devil more. So I decided to go with that
Okay.
one. And I also liked the whole uniqueness of the concept behind it and everything. I I will tell you that this movie blew me the hell away. I already went into it with high expectations, but kind of like tempering them, being like I'm expecting something good, but also, I don't want to get my hopes too high just in case it's not, but I loved it. So
Right.
this movie is presented as a documentary about an incident that happened on a talk show in the 70s. So
Okay.
the way that it opens, it kind of gives you all the backstory that you need for the characters and stuff, and then it starts showing you the footage of the actual taping of that show. Now, again, this is all fake. This wasn't a real
Right.
late night talk show, but the movie's being presented. It's a mockumentary style, but not comedy. It's being presented in a very believable way, and
Right.
so basically the story is about this guy whose show his late night talk show in the 70s was really popular, but then it kind of took a nosedive after his wife passed away and he went into some bad habits. But he tried to bring it back and it was doing okay for a while, but he wasn't reaching Carson numbers anymore, And so, in a desperate attempt to make his show relevant again on Halloween night, he decides to pull in a bunch of um spooky guests to try and liven things up, like a psychic who can talk to the dead, and a magician, and a girl possessed by a demon. And that is where things start to take a turn for the worse. And
Mm.
that's about as much as I can tell you about that movie without giving anything important away, quite frankly.
Damn. Okay.
Um, like, the less you know going into this, the better. But what I can tell you is that when you're watching the parts that are the talk show, like what happened on the talk show, it's presented to you in an old school 4:3 ratio with a vintage filter, so it really looks like a 70s show on the TV, and you're watching it as if you were in your living room watching it live that night while it was happening. You
Nice.
know?
Okay.
Um, so it all looks exactly like it would be if you were watching a normal talk show. The camera angles, the way the characters talk, everything.
Mhm.
But then when it cuts to commercial in the talk show, in the documentary film that you're watching, you get behind the scenes footage. The aspect ratio widens, it turns from color into grayscale, and you follow the talk show host and other production crew behind the stage and hear the things that they say off camera. And that is where a lot of like the actual story envelops in this movie as well. Um, it does have a kind of rushed and confusing ending, but after sitting on it for a while, I think I understood what happened. All I can say is that like the acting is phenomenal, the way it's presented is phenomenal. This is a very unique concept, a very interesting twist on the whole demon possession thing that you usually see in these types of movies. Um it's a fresh idea. It's very well executed. There is only one thing that I do have to call out, but it doesn't affect my feelings on the movie overall, but it is worth mentioning, and that is during the splash screens in this. So there are like when you're watching the talk show part of it, and they're like, All right, folks, we'll be back right after these messages, and then like the splash screen comes up, and and it says we'll be right back on the title card. Those splash screens were created with AI instead of them paying real artists to do them. They had them be AI generated. You can't really tell when you're watching the movie, especially with the vintage filter, but it's still worth mentioning because that is unethical and not okay. They need to be paying real artists to do that shit, not taking the lazy way out. But it doesn't affect the movie overall for me. And so, you're not going to believe this because I almost never hand these out, but that just goes to show how good this is. But this movie gets a 10 out of 10 from me.
That's high
like a solid
praise.
10 out of 10. It is practically flawless.
That's high praise.
You won't hear perfect 10s from me very often. You basically have to be like Lord of the Rings quality to get that. But as far as horror movies go, this was genuinely that good. I don't know what else to tell you. It's the way that it's done. If it was just any other demon possession movie, I wouldn't be so generous with it. But it's very uniquely filmed and executed.
That's high praise.
In a way, everyone. Yeah, and any self-respecting horror fan needs to see this movie. Honestly,
I definitely want to see this movie.
And like I said, the ending can seem a little rushed and confusing, but I think I understood. There's a lot of foreshadowing. You almost have to watch the movie twice in order to fully understand it. I feel so. Because there is a lot of foreshadowing. Oh, and it's part of it is loosely based on the real life Bohemian Grove cult as well, like part of what's happening in the story. So, which is like a real cult where like rich and powerful people. It's like, you know what? Just Google it. I'm not gonna try and Google that when you get the time. But anyways, yeah, so that's that for me. What do you got? What's your first thing?